Terry Long, CEO and founder of Trauma to Triumph, where we heal millions through the sharing of our real-life traumatic stories. We are going to turn wounds into wisdom, one story at a time. Today's episode, we sit down with Coach Ella, and she takes us on a journey of her real-life trauma to triumph and her resilience and her faith and her determination. I am sitting down today with the resilient Coach Ella. And Coach Ella's journey has twists and turns, and this amazing, beautiful, radiant woman that you see sitting here today has a story to tell, right? You've overcome some things, and we want to hear about it. We want to know about your journey of overcoming life trauma, and how do you overcome traumatic life things and transition to living triumphantly again? How do you do that? And I know that, it may not just be one thing that you want to talk to us about today, Coach Ella, but I want you to take us back as far as you're comfortable going and just walk us through your journey of trauma to triumph.
So thank you so much for having me. I've been through a whole lot. I've had a lot of traumatic situations in my life. I've gone through being on life support. I've gone through having 11 abdominal surgeries, a whole lot of things. But more recently, just 9 months ago, I suffered a brain aneurysm, and I had 3 brain procedures.
Okay, wait.
And,
wait. How many months ago?
9 months ago.
9 months ago.
9 months ago.
You suffered a brain aneurysm where most people don't survive.
Most people don't survive.
I have at least 2 family members perfectly fine, on their way to work, different situations, suffered an aneurysm, and we never saw them again. So when you just said that to me, you said 9 months ago. Okay, take us to that moment.
So April of 2024, I woke up April the 18th, just a regular day, like any other day. I wake up.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, was there something going on in your life? It
was nothing going, just regular life, kids, relationships, job, all of those things. But it was nothing that was out of the normal. But I did wake up with a headache. And I thought it was a migraine because years ago, I was diagnosed with having migraines. And so that's what I thought it was, just a migraine. And as women, sometimes we push through everything. It's like, okay, my head hurt, but I got to keep going. I got to go to work. These kids need me. These bills got to get paid, all of those things. And so that's what it was for me on that day. It was just, I got to keep going. And so I had this headache, kept going. The next day, April the 19th, that was a really heavy day for me because the 19th, I always celebrate. My dad passed away June 19th, 2020. And my adopted son passed away July 19th, 2021. So the 19th is always just really heavy.
A dark day for you.
It's a dark day.
I get it.
I logged on for work that day. It was the 19th, just feeling some type of way. And I still had this headache. Like, it wasn't better. It wasn't worse. It was just still a headache. And I was supposed to go to an event later on that day. My sister on the 13th was in the hospital. She had surgery as well. And so that whole week, it was just a lot of stuff going on. But I went to go visit my sister. My mother had came in from out of town. And I kept saying, I had her. I kept saying, I have a headache. And I said, I'm going to go home and take a nap. And then maybe I'll go to this event. I'm not sure. I wake up. And this is how God works. I wake up and I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the event. It was next door, just probably 2 minutes from where I live. I walked there.
You walked?
I walked.
Okay.
I go to the event and I'm standing there. I'm talking to everyone, talking about fibroids because I'm an ambassador for fibroids as well. I suffered from that years ago. And I'm just standing there talking, and all of a sudden my head feels like it's just squeezing together. Like, it just felt like it was just getting smaller and smaller. And when I opened my eyes, I was on the floor. I was on the floor.
When you opened your eyes?
When I opened my eyes.
So that means there was a period of time where you was probably out.
I was unconscious.
Out of it. Are you at the event?
I'm at the event. I open my eyes and I'm on the floor. And I'm asking everybody what just happened to me. And they say, you had a seizure. And I'm like, I don't have seizures. Like, what do you mean? I don't have seizures. And at this point, my head feels like it's on fire. Like, it feels like my head is about to explode. And they're telling me the ambulance is on the way. When the ambulance come, they took me to one hospital, and they said that they had to do a CAT scan. The CAT scan came back and it was positive. And by this time, my head is hurting and my neck is hurting. So I'm like, oh, I must have meningitis. The headache, stiff neck, I thought I had meningitis. And they said, no, you have a bleed on your brain. And we have to fly you to another hospital for emergency surgery right away, or you're not going to make it.
What?
Mm-hmm.
And this is from a headache?
This is from a headache.
Did you take anything for your headache? You know?
So the good part about it, my surgeons told me the great part about it was that I'm not going to say the great part, the blessing in it is that I don't take medications. I do like natural herbs and everything. And so I didn't take anything for it. But if I would have taken a Tylenol, I wouldn't be here. I would have bled out.
Because it thins the blood?
It's a blood thinner. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. So your angels on earth, they knew not to allow you to take anything. They knew.
Yeah.
So they say you got to go to another hospital to get surgery.
Mm-hmm. And
how are you feeling at this point? Do you still have a headache? Do you still, like, what's happening with you?
I'm in so much pain. I'm vomiting. My head is hurting really bad. My neck is hurting. But it was nothing they can do. And the resilience and the God in the situation, because I always tell people, don't look for the good or the bad in situations, but to find the God in it. So they told me they had to fly me. This was 10 o'clock at night. They told me they had to fly me to the other hospital for emergency brain surgery, but they couldn't find a flight. So I'm laying there and my brain is just bleeding. They didn't find a flight until the next morning, like 11 o'clock the next morning. My brain is bleeding.
It's still bleeding. So at this point, had you been told that you had suffered from an aneurysm?
They told me I had a brain aneurysm.
You had a brain aneurysm.
And they told me that my brain was bleeding and I needed to have emergency surgery.
And so for people who don't know, an aneurysm is just a burst blood vessel. Is that what that is? In your brain?
In your brain, yeah.
And it's nothing that you did to cause it.
It was nothing that I did to cause it. They did say a lot of times people have aneurysms and don't know. Because they're unruptured. A lot of times they might find an aneurysm by accident. If somebody goes to the hospital from one thing and they do a CAT scan and they find it. But in my case, I had the symptoms. I just didn't know that I had an aneurysm until it ruptured.
Wow. So 11 o'clock that morning, they were able to do the surgery.
They flew me to the next hospital and they did the procedure. And then they told me that I would have to be in ICU for 2 weeks. After I left ICU, I would have to go to a MICU and then I would have to go to rehab. They didn't know at that time if I could walk, if I could talk, how it affected my brain or anything. It was just a watch and wait. So I was just on a watch and wait.
Not knowing if you were going to be able to walk, talk, function normally again. You literally had a blood vessel burst in your brain.
And they said that it was so much blood in my brain. They said 80% of the people that have the type of brain bleed that I had, they don't make it. They don't survive the ambulance ride.
That makes me scratch the back of my head. But then it also lets me know who I'm sitting with. You know that there's something about you after all that you've gone through. There's gotta be something about you.
Yeah.
That God chose to use.
I don't take it for granted. And I knew, like, I was never afraid. When they told me all of the things that they told me, they had to monitor me. They had to keep coming and doing brain scans to make sure I didn't have vasospasms, because if I would have had a spasm in my brain, I could have bled out and died. So like every 30 minutes they're checking to make sure, but I was never afraid.
You was never afraid.
I was never afraid. Like I always had peace. I knew that this had to happen, and it didn't happen to me, it happened for me.
Wow, explain that.
So
It didn't happen to you, it happened for
it
you.
happened for me. My prayer every single day, I pray and I ask God to use me for the building of his kingdom and to show others his goodness and mercy. And a lot of times when we pray, I always say we pray dangerous prayers because we ask God to do things or to give us things, but we don't know what he's going to do. And so when I asked him to use me, I didn't know that he was going to use me in that way. I was like, okay, God, I didn't say do all this, but that was the way that he had to use me to show other people. And I always tell people that God can't use it if it's a secret. And so I feel like I needed to go through this for my family. Like it was just so many things going on with my family and, this person not talking to that person, just a whole bunch of things. And so God needed that to happen to get people's attention.
And so take me to your recovery. So you had this one procedure. Did you have to go through anything else?
So I had the first procedure where they went in and they coiled the aneurysm. So they put a titanium coil in it to cut off the circulation, to cut the blood flow. And then 2 weeks later, they went back in to check to make sure that it was still in place. And then I had a third procedure in October, just so they can make sure that it's still in place. And they did say that there's the neck of the aneurysm that came back. It's a possibility that it could try to come back. But again, it's just a watch and wait. It's too small. They can't go in and remove it or do anything. So it's just there. But
since you've had that happen to you in April, what can you tell people about the recovery? Did it take you long to start feeling normal again after suffering through an aneurysm and those procedures you had to go through?
So the day after the procedure, the nurses came in and they told me that they had to wash me up, and I was like, wash who? Like, just give me the soap and the towel. I can do this myself. I got this. And they were just amazed, like my doctors, my nurses, everybody, when they would come and they would just look at me. They would stand at the door in tears because, they said a person with the type of brain bleed that I had, they don't survive. And so they were, just in awe at how I was still there.
Miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I look at when I see you and I hear what happened to you.
Yeah.
Now, I knew about some of your other health struggles, obviously, because we've done other platforms together.
Mm-hmm.
But listening to this, knowing personally two people who an aneurysm took them out the same day,
yeah,
I really feel like I'm sitting next to a miracle.
Like, for real. God is good. And again, this had to happen, and people ask, was it easy? It wasn't easy at all. Did I have pain? Absolutely. Because after the procedure, the blood in my brain had to settle back into my body. And so now I'm having back pain. I can't walk. Like, 3:00 in the morning, I'm just in pain. And I would just put on my headphones and listen to my gospel music just to get me through, because, there were moments where it was just like, I was like, okay, God, I'm going to take this pain. It's a purpose for this pain. But there were times where it was painful. Mm-hmm. There were times where it was lonely because I was in ICU. And so my family couldn't spend a night. They couldn't stay overnight. And I feel like at that time, God was holding me in that place to get my attention because he knew it was work for me to do. And that was the only time that he can get my attention and really talk to me.
Wow. I'm speechless. I am speechless because the resilience that you have to endure that. And you said you weren't scared.
I was never afraid.
You weren't scared.
I was never afraid. I remember I asked the doctor when they told me that I had the brain bleed. I looked at the doctor and I said, am I going to die? Because if that was going to be my reality, I wanted to prepare myself.
You wanted to know and prepare yourself.
I wanted to know.
You really asked that question?
I asked, was I going to die?
Were you prepared for the answer?
I was prepared for the answer. If he would have said that, yes, this is what it is. We can't help you. It's nothing else we can do. I would have been okay. I would have made peace with my children because we've been through this before. I spent a week on life support. I've had 11 abdominal surgeries. And so, I would have been okay. But I wanted to know.
Wow. Wow. And so these last several months for you, it hasn't been a year since you suffered the aneurysm. What has your life looked like since then? What does life look like after an aneurysm for you, Coach Ella?
So life now is I am more intentional about where I spend my time, the things that I do, the people that I'm around. I make sure that I am being the example that God's kept me here to be to other people. Um, it's not always easy because sometimes I do forget things. It could be little things that, my memory sometimes I forget. But for the most part, it's my mission and my commission now just to educate other people and just to advocate because not only was I going through something, but my family as well, like the caregivers, the people that have to, spend their time at the hospital. My mom lives in South Carolina and she stayed up here for, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. My children, people that had to take care of me after I came home from the hospital. So I advocate for people that are going through things, people, and not just aneurysms. I started a foundation. It's called the Invisible Scar Foundation because people walk around with invisible scars every single day that we know nothing about.
Yep.
And so in that foundation, it's really telling people, to allow people grace. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know what they're dealing with. And also, how can you help? How can you support someone that's going through something? So that's what the Invisible Scar Foundation is all about.
I love that. The Invisible Scar Foundation. Wow. So when I say what's next for Coach Ella, obviously, like you said, educating people. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
In 5 years
From today?
5 years from
2030.
2030, I will be 5 years post aneurysm.
I know, right?
Yes.
You're going to still be alive and thriving. We're saying that.
Absolutely. Alive and thriving. And also just putting it out there more because since my aneurysm, so many people have started talking about headaches. And so now I can tell people when you go to the emergency room, this is what you should ask for. Because a lot of times when we go to the hospital and we say, oh, I have a headache, they say, oh, it might be this. Well, we don't want to guess. I need you to do a CAT scan, do an MRI, do an MRA, do all of the tests to make sure because people are really dying from aneurysms and strokes. And what people don't understand is I had what was called a hemorrhagic stroke. It's a stroke. It's a brain bleed.
Wow.
Jamie Foxx had the same thing. He said he had a headache and he ended up having a stroke. And so just really educating and advocating people. So in 5 years, people will know this is the type of headache that I'm having. It's not a tension headache. It's not a stress headache. This is what it is. And this is what I need to do for myself.
People will know what to look for.
Absolutely.
When they're having these headaches. That's very, very important because you're right, what you said in the beginning, that we, especially women, we overlook so much because we got to keep going.
Yeah.
Especially those of us who are still raising children, still having to go into the office.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is that we got to do, if we get a headache or a stomach ache or whatever it is, we just
keep going. We keep going.
And I'm so glad, like you said, God said that needed to happen. He knew he was going to spare your life.
Yeah.
He knew that, but he knew that, like you said, you had to go through that so that he could use you.
Absolutely. In my book, because I wrote a book.
Let's talk about that.
The book is called Invisible but Unbreakable: Surviving a Brain Aneurysm Through Faith and Resilience.
I love that.
Thank you.
Wow. And so tell us a little bit. I mean, of course, we want you to support her by getting the book, but so that we can get them to get it, like tell them, a little bit of something. You wrote this since post-aneurysm, right?
Post-aneurysm.
Wow.
I wrote it post-aneurysm. And Cynthia Bailey wrote the foreword for my book. So shout out to Cynthia Bailey.
Cynthia Bailey.
Yeah, she wrote the foreword for my book. And it's really just again, telling people my story, telling people what I went through.
Does the book go into what your life was like before the aneurysm?
It does. It talks about what it was like before the aneurysm. I was fine.
Right.
Or at least I thought I was fine, you know, just life as usual, work, life, kids, just being me, being happy. And then this happened to me. And so it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, where do I go with this?
Right.
And I had to be resilient. Like, I always tell people, it's okay to be down, but you can't stay there. And a lot of times when people are sick, when they're going through things, you know, they use that, oh, you know, I had this, I had a surgery, I had this and that, and they use that as a handicap. I use that as my strength.
As your strength.
I use it as my strength. I went through this, but here I am.
Right.
So.
And the aneurysm isn't the only thing you've gone through. Like you mentioned earlier, you had gone through 11, is that what you said? 11 abdominal surgeries. You've gone through a lot.
I've gone through a lot.
This beautiful body of yours has gone through a lot.
I've gone through a lot. But I keep going. I find my strength. And the one thing that I've learned is that a lot of times when we go through things, or I like to say grow through things, when we feel like we're on the other side of it, sometimes we forget who God is in our lives. And it's like, okay, God, thank you for getting me through this, but I'm good now. And he has to sit you back down again.
Sit you back down.
Absolutely.
Don't forget about him. No. That's the worst mistake we can make.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say that, woman to woman, I thank you for being willing to be used.
Thank you.
For being willing to just hear from God and be obedient.
Absolutely.
That's important. Very important
to be obedient.
Because you've taken a lot of hits and bumps and stuff, but God has kept you, and he's kept you for a reason.
Absolutely.
You always have to remember that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not here by happenstance.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't still be here after 11 abdominal surgeries and then an aneurysm. Okay? So it's very important for people to know you are a walking testimony.
Thank you.
And I'm very grateful for women and men who have gone through these traumatic life episodes and brave enough to share.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, there are too many stories of surviving things in the graveyards.
Yeah.
And we here at Trauma to Triumph, we're determined to leave a legacy of wisdom to help other people who have gone, you know, there may be someone who's caring for a family member.
Absolutely.
Post-aneurysm.
Absolutely.
Someone who's right now suffering from headaches. You may have just saved their life because they may think, you know what, let me get this checked out. And I thank you for that.
And I'm thankful for your platform, because there's not a lot of platforms that allow us to share our stories, to tell our stories, and to help other people. And I love Trauma to Triumph so much because the stories that I've heard, they are unbelievable.
Unbelievable, right?
And so I thank you for your obedience as well, because had it not been for you being obedient, we couldn't tell our stories. And again, God can't use it if it's a secret.
If it's a secret. We don't keep no secrets over here.
Absolutely.
We're going to tell it all, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Absolutely.
Because it's necessary.
It's definitely necessary.
So I thank you, Coach Ella.
Thank you for having me.
And in 5 years, I'm going to sit down with you again to see if what you said came true.
Yes,
okay?
indeed. Yes, indeed. We are claiming it. And in 5 years, we're going to be on Netflix and everywhere else.
Yes, I receive it.
Yes, indeed. Speak things as though they were. I speak
That's right.
great health. I speak healing over myself, over all of your guests that you have on the show. I speak mental healing, spiritual healing, physical healing, because that's what we need. More importantly, we need to make sure that we are good to ourselves, that we're taking care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Mental health is important.
They're very important. We take it for granted, but we've got to do better. This last leg, I always say, you know, most of us, we've lived longer than we will.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And so we got to make the best of it.
We have to make the best of it.
And we will.
Yes, we will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning into another episode of Trauma to Triumph.
This is my time.